Discover the 1-hour hidden path to life-changing billionaire lifestyle, touching visualization revealed. Jack Thompson wiped the sweat from his brow, the faint smell of gasoline and oil lingering in the air of his small garage. He was a mechanic, a fixer of broken things, working with grease-stained hands and a heart full of dreams. Every wrench turned was for Sarah, his beautiful wife, and their 2 kids, who deserved the world. Yet, as the rain pounded on the tin roof, the world felt heavier. His father, a war veteran and the man who taught him resilience, had fallen gravely ill. With mounting medical bills, Jack felt the weight like a ton of bricks on his shoulders. His father had always preached loyalty and hard work, virtues Jack held dear. But as he torqued a stubborn bolt while glancing out at the torrential downpour, his mind wandered to darker thoughts. Could he continue to fight against the tide, or would he be swept away? Just then, the bell above the door jingled. He looked up to see a woman step in, a curious sight with her bright red umbrella, eyes sparkling with mischief. Clara, the billionaire. They struck up an unlikely friendship. Jack couldn't believe that someone from a world so different from his could care about him. She brought life into their mundane small-town ways. One rainy afternoon, she lit up the garage with laughter, and for the first time in weeks, Jack felt a flicker of hope. They talked about everything: her wild adventures, his struggles, and as Clara shared, Jack began to see the stark reality of economic inequalities. She painted images of life beyond Maplewood, whispering dreams of riches that danced before him like fireflies. But as Clara introduced Jack to opportunities that felt like a lifeboat amid an ocean of despair, he wrestled with the conflict bubbling inside. Could chasing those dreams mean abandoning the very roots that formed who he was? Should he trade in his grease-stained coveralls for a suit? Just as he was beginning to dismantle the barriers within him, emotions heightened. His father's health took a drastic turn for the worse. A community fundraiser was announced, and Jack could feel his heart breaking. The town rallied together, neighbors uniting in heartfelt kindness, but his gaze always drifted toward Clara's world, a world full of possibilities. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack, you have a choice, Clara said one afternoon, her voice both light and heavy. Their conversation spiraled into frustration. You can take the leap or stay in the quagmire. Jack's jaw clenched. Clara's world felt appealing, but could he betray the values of loyalty, duty, and love his family ingrained in him? The very fabric of his life hung by a thread, and Jack's heart raced. As he stared out at the stormy horizon, uncertainty gripped him. Could he truly marry ambition with loyalty, or was one destined to choke out the other? With every heartbeat, he felt a mounting urgency to find a solution before it was too late. Jack took a deep breath, letting the crisp air fill his lungs. The weight of Clara's words hung thick in the garage. They replayed in his mind like a cracked record. Take the leap or stay in the quagmire. He turned back to the car he was working on, but his hands felt heavy. The engine block remained stubbornly uncooperative, just like his own thoughts. Jack. Clara's voice broke through his turmoil. He turned to find her standing beside him, framed by the dull light of the garage. Her presence was both comforting and nerve-wracking. How could she seem so confident when he felt torn apart? Clara, I can't just abandon my family, he replied, the words spilling out like water from a broken dam. All this talk of wealth and opportunity, what if I lose everything that matters? My roots are here. My dad, he needs me. Clara stepped closer, lowering her voice. You won't lose anything by trying. You can still be there for your father while exploring new avenues. Life isn't just about survival. It can be about thriving, too. Jack glanced at the wall, where pictures of his kids adorned the peeling paint. Each smile reminded him of why he worked so hard, why he felt the pressure to stay anchored to the familiar. What if he could offer them a better life? But at what cost? As if sensing his hesitation, Clara dived deeper. What about the fundraiser? It's a chance to rally the community, but also a chance for you to present yourself differently. You could network, meet people outside Maplewood. That might open doors, Jack. He felt a spark of something excitement, maybe hope, but it flickered uncertainly. And if I fail? If it doesn't lead anywhere but disappointment? Clara placed a hand on his shoulder, her expression earnest. But what if it does? You can't live in fear, Jack. You owe it to yourself and your family to explore. The tension in his chest tightened. What if Clara's audacious world wasn't meant for someone as grounded as him? Still, there was an allure about the vibrant life she talked about, a life filled with possibilities. As the fundraiser approached, Jack worked tirelessly to prepare. He learned the intricacies of public speaking and practiced speeches in front of the bathroom mirror. Each time he spoke, he felt a mix of vulnerability and strength growing within him. Could he merge his old self with this new, ambitious identity? On the night of the fundraiser, he wore his best shirt, one he only pulled out for special occasions. The small community center buzzed with life, laughter and chatter floated through the air like perfume. Jack's heart raced. He could see his father sitting in the front row, weak but proud. As he stepped up to speak, the microphone felt foreign in his hands. He looked out over the crowd, the supportive faces of neighbors who had always believed in him. The words he had rehearsed danced at the tip of his tongue, but doubt nudged at his confidence. He took a moment, gathered his thoughts, and inhaled deeply. This wasn't just for him, it was for his father, for Sarah, for the kids. I might not have all the answers, he began, his voice steadier than he felt, but I know we have to reach for more. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted him. Heads turned, gasping. A table had collapsed at the back, sending donations spilling across the floor. Jack couldn't help but feel the parallels or the stakes laid bare in that moment. The wind of change was blowing, and he felt himself caught in its currents. Just as confusion settled in, Alma, a beloved figure in the community, stood up with a laugh. Well, looks like we have a bit of drama tonight. The crowd erupted in nervous laughter, lightening the moment. But inside, Jack felt far from light. Would this be the minute that transformed not just the night, but the rest of his life? What followed next would determine whether he took a step into the unknown or retreated back to the safety of familiarity. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he stared at the mess unfolding around him. Donations were scattered across the floor like fallen leaves, and the laughter of the crowd felt like an echo, distant and surreal. His father's hopeful gaze grounded him, though the weight of a world resting on Jack's shoulders. Just keep going, came Clara's reassuring whisper from the side. Her calmness pierced the chaos in his mind. He wiped his sweaty palms on his shirt, heart racing. Wasn't a leap like this just as precarious as the fallen table? Okay, Jack breathed, clutching the microphone tighter. He could almost feel the energy of the crowd pushing him forward. Just like all of you, I've faced challenges. We've grappled with what it means to step outside our comfort zones, to risk it all for something greater. The tension in his chest eased ever so slightly. Jack scanned the room, eyes locking with his father's, who gave a slight nod of encouragement. Inspired by that small gesture, Jack forced himself to continue. Sometimes, life demands that we fall before we can soar. The crowd quieted, a hush of connection settling among them. Jack leveraged the moment. I might stumble, but I also want to lift us all. Together, we can turn these challenges into opportunities. He could see them lean in, ready to listen. Uncertainty still flickered in his mind, but with every passing second on stage, confidence swelled within him. If we can come together tonight, perhaps we can reach out to the community beyond Maplewood. Let us empower one another. A ripple of hope passed through the audience. He could feel the shift, the excitement buzzing. Faces lit with interest, eager to hear more. The laughter that erupted from Alma lightened the mood, making him smile. What began as chaos had sown an unexpected connection. Jack executed a quick pivot. And if anyone knows how to clean up a mess, it's us. The laughter returned, warm and genuine this time, reinforcing the bond between them. Even amidst the uncertainty, his heart thudded with purpose. After finishing his speech to enthusiastic applause, Jack stepped back, still shaking but filled with a sense of accomplishment. The energy in the room felt like a secret shared among friends, something electric that danced through the air. People started gathering to donate again, stories exchanged about the importance of their community. Jack's spirit soared. Maybe Clara was right, this could be a bridge to something better. Stepping down from the stage, he felt lighter, but the thrill faded when he spotted Clara talking to someone on the side. The guy looked sharp, all business, the kind that made Jack want to shrink back into his old self. What were the chances he would connect with a person like that? Just as he thought about retreating, Clara caught his eye and waved him over. "Jack, come here," she called, her excitement palpable. "This is Mark. He is looking to invest in local projects." Jack hesitated but took a deep breath and approached. As Clara made the introduction, Jack's chest tightened again. Was he ready for this? The chance to explore a world beyond what he knew felt more daunting than exhilarating. "I heard your speech, and I must say, it was inspiring," Mark said, offering his hand. Jack gulped, a mix of fear and anticipation swelling within him. "Thank you," he replied, the words coming out steadier than his heart felt. This was it, the door he had been too timid to reach for. Yet, the old fears began to creep in. What if he wasn't good enough? Could he handle the burden of chasing dreams when he had so much at stake? The thought hung in his mind as he engaged with Mark, the casual conversation infused with the possibility of transformation. But beneath the surface, the question loomed: was stepping into the unknown worth risking everything he knew? And at that moment, he realized the leap wasn't just about him, it was about his family, his future. Just as Jack began to feel the weight of that realization settle in, he caught Clara's eye again. She smiled, a knowing smile that told him she believed in him. Even when he faltered, but as expectations started to swell around him, a flash of doubt crossed his mind. What unexpected challenge was lurking just ahead, ready to test this newfound path? Jack's mind raced as he navigated the conversation with Mark. Clara's voice faded into a dull hum, replaced by the drumming of his pulse in his ears. The sleek lines of Mark's tailored suit felt intimidating, a reminder of everything Jack hoped to achieve but feared he couldn't reach. "Investing in local projects is critical," Mark continued, leaning in with an earnestness that required Jack's attention. "You have a vision. It's what makes you stand out." Jack nodded, but internally, he felt a tremor of anxiety. What vision? Just moments before, he had been trying to piece together a simple speech in front of his community. Now, here he was, mingling with someone who could change everything. "What is your plan?" Mark's question hung between them, heavy and expectant. Jack stammered, glancing back at Clara. She met his gaze, a soft encouragement emanating from her eyes. He searched within himself, trying to find the words that would convey the spark that had flickered during his speech. "I want to create a program to," but doubts clawed at him. "I mean, there's a lot to think about. I'm still figuring things out." Mark tilted his head slightly, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "That's okay. But don't be afraid to put it out there. You have more than just potential, you have passion. That's what draws people in. Let them see it." Jack felt an adrenaline rush, turmoil and excitement twining within him. Clara had always said the same thing, that being authentic could open doors, yet now, those words had weight. "Okay," he said, grounding himself. "I want to help our community find its strengths. We can work together to uplift those who feel lost, to connect them with opportunities. It's about creating a network that empowers everyone." Mark's brow furrowed slightly, his interest piqued. "And what resources do you need to make that happen?" Jack hesitated, grappling with the enormity of what was being asked. Could he voice the hopes he barely acknowledged? "Honestly, we need mentorship, funding, a way to create dialogue within our town. I want to host workshops, skill trade events. See, Mark interjected, a smile forming. You're passionate already. The details will come as you build on this vision. Jack's heart raced with a blend of fear and excitement. Could he really do this? Could he match his passion with actual progress? Clara joined in, sensing the moment. You know, Jack, your energy is contagious. People will rally behind someone who truly cares. You're giving them hope. Jack felt a swell of pride at her words, but still, the anxiety clutched him again, punctuated by Mark's probing gaze. And the biggest question, Jack, Mark prompted, a twinkle in his eye. What's stopping you from stepping into that world? Staring into Mark's eyes, Jack couldn't help but feel challenged. He thought about everything that held him back, the fears, the doubt, the anticipation of failing. But beneath it all, something else bubbled up, an ember of hope that had grown brighter from that very night, from standing on stage in front of his peers. I guess it's me. I'm just scared to take that leap. Mark chuckled, a warm, engaging laugh that made the air feel lighter. We're all scared. But what if the leap takes you somewhere incredible? Those words hung in the air, echoing in Jack's mind. They were an invitation, a nudge into the unknown he had kept at arm's length far too long. What's the first step? Jack blurted, surprising even himself with the urgency in his voice. Mark's gaze sharpened, impressed. The first step is planting the seed. Let us set a date to talk. Get everything on the table. Start with what you want to achieve. Jack's heart thundered at the thought. This could be it. A genuine connection that might lead to something transformative. Could he really chase a dream? As Mark jotted down his number, Jack felt something inside him click, a kinship extending beyond fear. This was a doorway opening, yet shadows of doubt still loomed at the edges, whispering caution. What if he wasn't enough? Just then, Clara squeezed Jack's arm, bringing him back. You're going to be great, I know it. Just remember, even the best journeys start with a single step. Jack took a deep breath, the possibilities swirling in his mind like leaves in the wind. He was at the edge of something great, teetering on the brink of invention and connection. The leap was not just about himself, it was about all those who depended on him. As he scanned the room filled with smiling faces and hope, Jack wondered, what did it truly mean to embrace this challenge? What awaited him just beyond the moment? With Clara's support and Mark's challenge ringing in his ears, Jack could sense the tide shifting. He turned to Clara, excitement mingling with uncertainty. What if I dive in and it all falls apart? Instead of fear, Clara's eyes sparkled with unwavering faith. Then we rebuild. Together. But as they smiled at the promise of an unknown tomorrow, Jack sensed another wave of uncertainty creeping in. What sacrifices would his ambition demand? And who would he become in the process? Jack stepped outside, the cool night air washing over him like a refreshing wave. The lights of the community center glowed warmly behind him, a beacon of possibility and hope. He took a moment, looking up at the stars puncturing the dark sky. They reminded him that while he felt small, the universe held limitless potential, just waiting for someone to reach out and grab it. Are you okay? Clara asked, her voice breaking through his reverie. She stood beside him, the soft glow of the building casting shadows on her face. Yeah, I need to process everything. Jack's mind buzzed with excitement and anxiety. What if he actually went through with this? What if he failed? A part of him felt exhilarated, but deeper down, the fear knotted in his stomach like a hard, cold stone. Clara leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You can't let the what-ifs hold you back. You've got a great idea. People are going to rally behind you, I know it. Just focus on what you can control. He chuckled lightly, the warmth in her confidence comforting but also unnerving. That's the thing. I want it so badly, but what if I can't live up to it? What if I let everyone down? Clara shifted closer, her eyes searching his. It's not about perfection, Jack. It's about progress. You're starting a conversation, a movement. People will understand if it doesn't go as planned. They just want someone who cares. The sincerity in her words wrapped around his heart like a warm blanket. She was right, of course. Behind every great movement were countless moments of stumbling and learning. Still, an unshakable doubt clouded his mind. What if I don't have what it takes? He whispered, half to himself. Don't you see? Clara breathed, her eyes glistening. The very fact that you're here, wanting to help others. That's more than enough. The door swung open behind them, interrupting their moment. A few friends stepped out, laughter cascading into the night. Jack couldn't help but smile, drawn back into the atmosphere of community he cherished. Each face carried a different story: struggles, triumphs, dreams. Hey, Jack, you ready to break it down? You were awesome tonight. One friend called, a cheeky grin plastered on his face. A sudden surge of pride bubbled in Jack's chest. Could he really be what they saw in him? With renewed strength, he turned back to Clara. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'll dive in. She beamed at him, a radiant light in the dimness of the night. That's the spirit. Let us set up that meeting with Mark. You can present those ideas, lay out your vision. Jack felt adrenaline shoot through him. The world around him shifted. He could picture it, his ideas swirling into something tangible, a community center bustling with life, voices blending into a chorus of hope and encouragement. But then, doubt snuck in again, this time, sharper. But what if I don't have the right words? What if it's a disaster? Jack. Clara's tone anchored him. Just be yourself. You're passionate, and that will shine through. The people who believe in you will listen because you care. He took a deep breath, feeling the truth of her words grip him. There was something powerful in vulnerability, yet he knew the stakes were high. This journey could either lift him up or tear apart the fragile pieces he was just beginning to put together. Let us meet tomorrow, Clara suggested, sensing his hesitation. We can brainstorm and prepare together. You won't be alone in this. Okay, he agreed, his heart racing. Tomorrow. As they turned to head back inside, a sudden thought flared in Jack's mind. If he took this step, what would he need to sacrifice? What relationships would change? The idea of stepping into the spotlight made his stomach churn. With a lingering look at Clara, he felt a connection stretch between them: friendship, trust, and something deeper lurking beneath the surface. What if I discover things about myself I don't like? He mumbled. Clara glanced back, her expression unreadable. Then you face those things together. No one is perfect. That thought settled in the back of his mind, breathing life into his resolve. But deep down, even as hope sparked, shadows lingered. If he really pursued this, would he lose parts of himself? As they walked back into the building, the laughter of friends enveloped them. Jack was caught between exhilaration and fear. Could he be the person his community needed? What would his journey reveal about who he really was? He paused at the doorway, uncertainty washing over him. The night was still young, filled with possibilities, yet a flicker of dread dawned. What would happen once he took that first step into the unknown? The next morning, the sun pierced through the window, illuminating the room with golden light. Jack lay awake, staring at the ceiling, his mind tangled in a web of thoughts. Today was the day, a chance to start something meaningful. Yet, as bright as the day was, doubt clouded his vision. He rolled out of bed, pushing off the sheets. There were preparations to make, ideas to refine, yet his gut churned with worry. In the kitchen, the smell of fresh coffee filled the air, grounding him. Clara was already there, her laptop open and papers spread across the table like the map to a secret treasure. She caught his eye, her gaze bright and encouraging. Good morning. I've been thinking about how we can frame your presentation. I want to help you shine. Jack felt a tug at his heart. Her unwavering support felt like a lifeline. Thanks for being here, Clara. I really appreciate it. Always, she replied, a smile flickering across her face. As they settled into their work, the nervous energy began to coalesce into a bubbling excitement. Ideas bounced between them like sparks from a fire, igniting their passion. Clara handed him a notepad. "Let us start with your vision. What do you want to say to them?" Jack took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of hope fill the cracks of his doubt. "I want to share how this center can be a safe haven for everyone. A place of support and collaboration. It's more than just a building, it's about community and connection." Clara nodded, her eyes shimmering with enthusiasm. "Yes. That's perfect. People need to feel that sense of belonging. We can show them how your ideas bring that to life." The hours flew by. They constructed slides, practiced speeches, and even threw in some laughter to lighten the tension. Jack felt the pieces falling into place, each moment drawing him closer to clarity. But as the clock ticked down, a familiar flutter of anxiety started to creep back in. "What if I mess up?" he asked, the weight of fear pressing heavily on his chest. "What if I trip over my words or forget something important?" Clara leaned in, her expression softening. "If it happens, it happens. Just embrace it. Remember, it's about the message, not about you being perfect." Jack swallowed hard, not entirely convinced. Yet, in that moment, he wondered if there was courage in imperfection, if sharing the struggle might resonate more than polished words ever could. As they finalized their last slide, Clara suggested they take a break. "Let us step outside for a minute. Take a breather." They walked out into the warm afternoon sun, where the community center stood tall before them. Jack took a deep breath, the air filling his lungs like a tide of potential. "I can't help but think about how many people are counting on this," he said, the weight of responsibility making his chest tighten. "What if I let them down?" Clara stopped, turning to face him. "You have to focus on the journey, Jack. Just by stepping up, you're doing something most people are too afraid to do. That's powerful." Jack nodded slowly, absorbing her words. For a moment, the world faded away, just him, Clara, and the possibilities stretched out before them like a vast ocean waiting to be explored. Yet, a new thought crept into his mind. Would looking back on this day fill him with pride, or would it haunt him? He felt grateful for Clara's presence, yet the final step still loomed large. As they walked back inside, he sensed the weight of his choice pressing on him. The deeper he ventured into this journey, the more doubts surfaced about who he would become. Jack glanced at Clara. "I've never wanted anything as much as I want this, but what if this changes everything?" She looked at him with a mixture of concern and understanding. "Change is inevitable, but think about it this way, what if it leads to something beautiful?" Before he could respond, a loud cheer erupted from the other side of the building, drawing their attention. Laughter filled the air, and Jack caught glimpses of friends gathering for support. For the first time, he realized he wasn't alone in this. Would the community rally around him? Would he find strength in their support? Fear mingled with eager anticipation as he stepped closer to the heart of that potential future. A deep breath escaped his lips, and just as they reached the doorway, a thought flickered in Jack's mind. What would he discover about himself today? Would he emerge stronger, or would this challenge crack him open in unexpected ways? The answers awaited him on the other side, beneath the pressure of a spotlight he was about to step into. As Jack stepped through the doorway, a surge of energy swept over him. The community center buzzed with the warmth of gathered souls, friends, family, neighbors, all with smiles and kind words, their eyes glimmering with hope and curiosity. It was as if the walls themselves exuded encouragement, wrapping around him like a protective embrace. He spotted familiar faces, people he hadn't seen in a while. There was Lisa, his childhood friend, waving enthusiastically. Next to her stood Mr. Thompson, the elderly gentleman from down the street who volunteered at every local event. Each face brought a memory, a reminder of how intertwined their lives were. They were all here for him. "See," Clara whispered, nudging him playfully in the ribs. "You've got this." Jack's heart raced as he approached the makeshift stage that had been set up in the main hall. The wooden podium seemed like a mountain, tall and imposing. He could feel the weight of eyes upon him, stirring a whirlwind of emotions inside. With each step, the doubts flickered like shadows in the corners of his mind, but something deeper pushed him forward, an exhilarating realization that this moment could change everything. When he reached the microphone, he cleared his throat. "Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Your support means more than I can say." His voice wavered slightly, but he fought to steady it. Looking out into the crowd, he saw Clara's reassuring smile, and it anchored him. The presentation unfurled before him like a blooming flower. He shared his vision for the community center, weaving stories and ideas, gesturing passionately as he spoke about creating a space to belong, a haven for collaboration and support. He could see lights flickering on in people's eyes, interest, hope, excitement, but then, just as he reached the heart of his message, the fear washed over him again. What if they didn't buy it? The thought gripped him like a vice. Panic bubbled up in his throat, but he swallowed hard. "It's about more than just bricks and mortar," he continued, fighting back the rising tide of anxiety. "It's about connection. It's about coming together as a community." As he spoke, he noticed Mr. Thompson nodding along. Remember how the man had brought him cookies during tough days in his childhood? Jack found his voice again, anchored by these connections. A sudden silence fell as he shared a particularly emotional story about how a community center had once saved his family. He spoke of the kindness that had lifted them during hard times, and how he wanted to pay that forward. There were gasps and murmurs in the crowd, eyes glistening with unshed tears. When he finished, a wave of applause erupted, washing over him like a comforting tide. It felt immense, like a blanket wrapping around his insecurities. But just when the applause began to dwindle, a hand shot up from the back. It was Clara. "What happens when you hit roadblocks?" she called out, a challenging expression lighting up her face. "How will you handle the failures?" The question knocked the wind out of him initially. Roadblocks. He had been so focused on painting a pretty picture that he hadn't considered the bumps ahead. That's when it dawned on him it was okay to not have all the answers. He took a deep breath. "I'll need help," he admitted, pride mixing with vulnerability. "There will be times we stumble, but we'll rise together, stronger. What matters is that we support each other through it all." The audience erupted into applause once more, and this time, Jack soaked it in, letting it drown out the remaining doubts. As the gathering progressed into networking and excitement, Jack's heart swelled. People approached him with encouragement, ideas, and offers to help turn his vision into reality. They wanted to be part of this. In one corner, Clara laughed with some attendees, her joy infectious. Jack couldn't help but smile as he caught her eye. She gave him a thumbs up, and he could see the proud glimmer in her gaze. Yet, as the evening wore on, a different kind of urgency tugged at him. Sweet victory was tinged with a new realization. This was only the beginning. What would the first challenge be? Would he falter when faced with reality? The question lingered in his thoughts as the night unfolded. The path ahead was beautiful, but it was still so unknown. Would he be ready for what lay ahead? He shared another smile with Clara, but as he turned back to the crowd, his heart raced with the realization that their journey was just kicking off. What chapters would still remain unwritten in this story of community, connection, and transformation? As the crowd began to disperse, Jack felt a mixture of exhilaration and trepidation. Conversations buzzed around him, laughter mingled with chatter, and he could see small clusters of homegrown ideas blooming. But beneath the surface of joy, a knot formed in his stomach. The applause had been a bomb, but the reality of his undertaking loomed like a shadow. "Hey, you did amazing." Clara beamed at him, her voice breaking through the surrounding murmur. She grabbed his arm, drawing him closer. "They really believe in you." Jack offered a grateful smile, but his mind raced ahead. The night had gone well, and yet but what if I can't deliver? He replied, his voice lower. What if, despite all this enthusiasm, things fall apart? Clara tilted her head, studying him. "Jack, you can't think like that. You just reached so many hearts tonight. You've opened a door, now you have to step through it. Despite the warmth in her eyes, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. He admired Clara's boundless optimism, but the weight of responsibility felt heavier than ever. Suddenly, he spotted Mr. Thompson lingering at the edge of the room, adjusting his glasses with a nervous energy. Jack excused himself and walked over. "Mr. Thompson. Thank you for coming tonight. Your support means everything," Jack said, his voice rushing between excitement and trepidation. The older man's eyes glimmered with something akin to pride. "You've got the spirit, Jack. Just keep that fire burning." Then, he leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "But remember, every great idea faces challenges, and it takes grit to push through." Jack nodded, appreciating the wisdom but feeling the weight of each word press against him. Their discussion shifted to the logistics of the center's future, talk of potential fundraisers and committee meetings swirling around him like a tempest. Later, as the last guest trickled out, Clara and Jack lingered. "Let us take this one step at a time," she continued, trying to lift his spirits. "How about we set some small goals first? Reach out to people interested in the next meeting. Start building some buzz." "That sounds good," but Jack hesitated, chewing his lower lip. What if they pull their support after the thrill of tonight wears off? Clara grabbed his hands, her grip firm and grounding. "You're not alone in this. Just think of all the people who were ready to step forward tonight. They want to help you. You just have to be brave enough to ask." The sincerity in her eyes made a thread of hope tug at Jack's heart. Maybe she was right. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that everyone's fate rested heavily on his shoulders. However, in that moment, he caught sight of a flyer taped to the community center wall, an upcoming town hall meeting about local projects. Peering closer, his heart raced. This was an opportunity, a place to engage the community further. "Clara!" Jack exclaimed, a spark igniting within him. "We need to be at that town hall. It's a chance to get more people involved, to share ideas." Her face lit up. "Yes. That's the spirit. Let us prepare a proposal, make a list of things to address." Fueled by a newfound enthusiasm, they began brainstorming wildly, jotting down ideas on napkins, sketches of potential layouts, and emotional stories to inspire the community to join him. But deep inside, Jack felt a pinch of worry. What if the town hall meeting was the tipping point and not in his favor? Could he really rally everyone again, build the momentum needed for his vision? As they sketched late into the night, Jack stole glances at Clara, her determination steadying him, even as the questions roiled in his gut. Would they be able to pull this off? Would the community rally behind him again when he needed it most? The uncertainty lingered, refusing to dissipate like the fading echoes of applause, and Jack couldn't shake the weight of that thought as they plunged headfirst into planning. Morning light poured through the window as Jack rubbed the sleep from his eyes. The weight of the day ahead hung over him like a thick fog. Clara was already at his kitchen table, surrounded by a chaotic array of papers, markers, and mugs of coffee. "Ready to dive back in?" she asked, her tone bright and unwavering. Jack nodded, even though his stomach churned a bit with doubt. They spent the morning moving through their ideas for the town hall, refining their proposal. Clara's enthusiasm drove them forward, her energy contagious. But the fear that crept into Jack's mind didn't easily dissipate. He scribbled down the names of potential supporters but hesitated to put them in a final draft. "What's holding you back?" Clara asked, tapping her pen against the table. "I guess I'm just worried." Jack sighed, leaning back in his chair. "What if I don't communicate our vision the right way? What if they don't like it?" Clara leaned in, her expression firm. "You have to believe in what you're offering. And remember, even if everyone doesn't agree, it's about starting a conversation. You're giving them a chance to be part of something bigger. That's what matters." Jack swallowed hard, the words striking a chord deep within him. What if he could just focus on sharing the vision, rather than worrying about approval? It was a flicker of insight, just the kind of magic he'd experienced during last night's presentation. With a deep breath, he put pen to paper, feeling a burst of clarity rush through him. As the clock inched toward the town hall meeting, they gathered their materials and began to prep. Clara smiled at him as they sorted the stack of pamphlets. "You're going to do great. Just speak from your heart." Arriving at the town hall, Jack felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The venue buzzed with chatter. Town members mingled, exchanging ideas, their faces bright with possibility. He caught sight of Mr. Thompson along with a few familiar faces from last night, who waved to him. It warmed his heart, but the nervousness bubbled back up. Stepping up to the microphone, Jack scanned the room, taking in the hopeful expressions peering back at him. Suddenly, his feet felt rooted to the stage. He cleared his throat, his voice wavering slightly at first. "Thank you all for coming tonight," he began, glancing at Clara for reassurance. "I truly believe we have a chance to create something special together." The moment felt electric, and as he shared his vision with the crowd, the urge to connect with them transformed the weight in his chest into a lightness. He spoke about community engagement, shared anecdotes from conversations he'd had with residents, and emphasized collaboration. The energy shifted as people leaned in, nodding, taking notes, even murmuring words of encouragement. Jack felt their belief in him growing, filling him with courage. Toward the end of his speech, he invited questions. The room buzzed with inquiries and suggestions. It was the feedback he had been nervously anticipating, but instead of stoking his fears, it felt invigorating. Every voice mattered. As the meeting concluded, applause rang out louder than just for him. It was a collective hope, echoing through the hall. Jack's heart soared as Clara rushed to his side, practically beaming. "You see?" she exclaimed, excitement radiating from her. "You reached them." But just as the high of success surged within him, Jack's gaze drifted back to the crowd. A familiar face among them looked troubled, arms crossed, a look of skepticism etched on their features. It was someone he had hoped would be supportive. "Everything's not perfect yet," Jack murmured, feeling a shift in the atmosphere. He needed to follow up with that person, to dig deeper, but doubt crept back in. Did he truly have what it took to navigate these complexities? As people began to disperse, Jack felt the beginnings of a connection with the dissenting voice, a chance to understand their concerns more fully. Would he face this challenge with the resolve needed, or would it throw him off course? The night was just starting, and an unknown path lay ahead, filled with as much anxiety as possibility. Jack took a deep breath, ready to step into the next part of this unfolding journey. The following week felt like a whirlwind of activity. Jack's heart pulsed with purpose as he dove into meetings with support, rallying more momentum for his community center. Clara's optimism never wavered. She breathed life into their projects, her laughter infectious even in the most stressful moments. Jack stood in front of a whiteboard filled with ideas, attending to each new development with determination. "We need to reach more kids," he declared, drawing circles and arrows like a child with a crayon. Clara leaned in, watching him work with that familiar light in her eyes. "And what are we going to call the outreach program?" "That's a good question," he pondered, scratching his chin. "What about Maplewood Rising?" Clara burst into applause. "I love it. That's powerful." The energy in the room ignited, and Jack felt the familiar flicker of excitement that had ignited at the first fundraiser. Yet, as the days rolled on, so did the challenges. He began encountering voices of skepticism again. Questions about feasibility, funding issues, and community hesitance surfaced at nearly every turn. Some days, the weight of it all became too much, and Jack often found himself sitting alone in the garage late at night, holding his head in silence, mentally wrestling with doubt. One particularly challenging evening, as he leaned against his tool bench, Clara appeared with 2 cups of coffee. "Hey, I brought your favorite," she called sweetly, the scent of the brew warming the air. "You look like you could use it." "I don't know if I can do this, Clara." Jack's voice barely reached above a whisper. "Every time I try to push forward, someone finds a way to pull me back." Remember the passion you felt on stage. Clara leaned in, her intensity pulling him back from the edge. Don't lose sight of that. You have to gather your supporters and their voices. Build on what has been said rather than dwell on what is perceived as flaws. Jack sipped his coffee, feeling the warmth seep through him. When did this become so complicated? Change always is, she said, smiling gently. But think about why you started. You're building something greater than yourself, and that is challenging, but empowering. Use that fire. He exhaled deeply, acknowledging her encouragement. You're right. Maybe I need to reach out to those skeptics instead of avoiding them. That is the spirit. Clara's smile widened, and a light sparkled in her eyes. Embrace the hard conversations. They are building bridges. The following week, Jack took a leap he had been hesitant about for far too long. The town hall meeting had cast a net that started to gather in new voices, and he extended invitations to those who had raised concerns. A small gathering formed at the community center, lapsing from anxiety into connection. One by one, the skeptics began to share their views, and Jack listened keenly, letting thoughts flow without interruption. As the discussions unfolded, he bridged gaps, addressing every concern with care. Listening brought invaluable insights, and soon, an alternate path began to form, a collective effort that brought the heart of the community together. They brainstormed ideas, threw around names, and celebrated the concept of building not just a center, but a family. The transformation was palpable. The tension that had first filled the room melted away, replaced by a spirit of collaboration. Let us make it a space everyone can feel a part of, one skeptic announced, her voice rich with enthusiasm. In that moment, Jack beamed. The conversations filled him with hope, bending his fears into powerful realization. He was not just leading a movement, he was part of a vibrant living organism, breathing together toward a shared vision. Weeks later, with the foundation of the Maplewood Rising Center finally in sight, Jack stood among the foundation workers, arms soaked with sweat, laughter ringing out in the air. Clara stood beside him, her presence a steady reminder of the journey they had taken. Look at how far we've come, she exclaimed, her voice filled with awe. Jack swallowed thickly, his heart swelling with gratitude. They had turned challenges into opportunities, transformed skeptics into allies, and built a newfound love for their community. Sure, the journey had not been without struggle, but those moments only knit them closer together. As they watched the sun set behind the building, casting a golden hue over their project, Jack realized his new role wasn't just a leader, it was a catalyst for others to shine too. Clara turned to him, her eyes gleaming, and whispered, "You did it, Jack. We did it." And in that moment, he knew that true strength didn't lie in being unyielding, but in embracing change, weaving struggles into strength, and knowing when to lean on one another as they all rose together endlessly. In the heart of Maplewood, everything had transformed. Jack smiled, tears of joy prickling at the corners of his eyes. Let us keep building. The future felt bright, and every breath he took was a step forward, not just for himself, but for a whole community that had dared to dream together. Now, as this incredible journey of transformation reaches its conclusion, it's your turn to be part of this community of inspiration and upliftment. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. I want to hear your thoughts. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support because this is the moment. Don't wait not even one more second to share.